Hi, Melina here, and I'm gonna do my last book haul for 2017. So, I got quite a few arcs here, then I have a Christmas, section, and then I have mainly just stuff that I bought myself. So, I'm gonna start with the arcs. The first one I have here is called The Hush by John Hart, and all I really know about this is that it's an adult thriller and that it is released in February of this year, 2018. And yeah, I think I read the beginning of it to see if I would like it, and it seems good so far. Then the next one I have here is The Queen's Rising by Rebecca Ross, which also comes out in February. And at my job, we got multiple arcs of this, so one of my coworkers read it, and she's been raving, saying that it was great, so I might read this one sooner than the rest of the arcs. Then here I have The French Girl by Lexi Elliott, another February release, and I actually saw Lala from Books and Lala talking about it, because she also got an arc of it, and it is a thriller that takes place, I think, in this, small cabin or farmhouse in, the middle of nowhere, and yeah, it sounds good. And this is probably the most arcs I've ever gotten in a month. I also have something called The Girls in the Picture by Melanie Benjamin, and this is basically set in the 1920s, and it's about, kind of trying to be an actress in the film industry in that time period, and it's pretty thicker compared to the rest of them, and this one comes out January 16th, so soon. And, second to last for the arcs here, I have The Story of Arthur Trulove by Elizabeth Berg. This doesn't come out until November of next year, or was it last year? I don't know. It comes out in November, and the cover isn't that appealing, but it's actually one of the ones that I'm most excited about out of the arcs because it sounds really cute and weird. It's about a older man who goes to this cemetery a lot to visit his wife's grave, and there he meets this kind of gothic teenager chick who also goes to the cemetery a lot for whatever reason, and they become friends. And it sounds really cute, and it looks really short, so that seems fun. And then one that I was really excited about because I saw that a lot of people were trying to hunt it down, and we got it in, is Iron Gold by Pierce Brown. This is the fourth book in the Red Rising series that was originally a trilogy and now has been expanded. This comes out January 16th, and it's nice, it's huge. I don't own physical copies of any of the original trilogy. I have the first one in ebook form, but now I want to get hard, physical copies of the original trilogy to work my way to this one. And that's it for the arcs. So now I'm going to go through Christmas books. The first one here is the most beautiful one, and it is Hamilton, The Revolution by Lin-Manuel Miranda. This was a gift from my sister. It is one of the most beautiful books I've ever seen, and I'm currently reading it, so I'm right here. And this is basically, it has all of the lyrics and, margin notes from Lin and pictures from the stage production and kind of the steps of how Hamilton came from something that it was just Lin thought of and how it became what it is today. And it's so beautiful. I'm listening to the soundtrack as I go through it, and also listening to the audiobook as I read along. And I already think it's going to be one of my favorite reads of the year. And yes. Then I got 3 other books for Christmas. One that I have here is Confess by Colleen Hoover. I've been wanting to read this for a while. I got this from my mom, and it's because Colleen Hoover is one of her favorite authors, and she has read this one a while ago, and she watched the TV show that they made out of it, and she's been wanting me to watch the TV show with her because she really wants to rewatch through it, and I was like, I'd only want to watch the show after I read the book, so she got me this. And she also got me, okay, and I also got Carry On by Rainbow Rowell from her. This is the paperback version, so they released an illustrated cover, and it also has these like galaxy end pages. And yeah, she had originally gotten this for me instead of Confess, and then there was some complications, and she ended up getting me this on top of that, so I ended up getting an extra book out of her for Christmas. And the last book that I got for Christmas is one that I'm not quite sure how to pronounce. I think it's called Hausfrau, and it's by Jill Alexander Esbon. And this is an adult contemporary novel about a woman who has been married for a long time, and she's kind of done with her marriage, and she's gonna try to have some new wild experiences that I think are mainly like sexual, which I was laughing because my grandmother actually got me this book, and she said that she picked it up because she thought the cover was really pretty, which it is nice. It kind of reminds me of the cover for that Bad Romance book that came out this year that everyone was picking up just because the cover was pretty, because it has the flowers in the center and it's really nice. And that's it for the Christmas books. Next I have a little minor section of just poetry books. The first one here, my sister was getting rid of some of her books, and this one's called The Best Poems Ever, and she was like that she's getting rid of those and stuff, so if I wanted any, so I went through it, and this is one of the ones I picked up because it has like a popular poem from each of like the great poets like Emily Dickinson and Edgar Allan Poe and stuff like that. So it's cute, it's short, and I've been wanting to expand my poetry collection, so I got that. Then my store got traded in, Milk and Honey by Rupi Kaur, and yeah, I've been wanting to read this since everyone's been talking about it. It's in good condition, and it was only like $2, so yeah, I got that one. And then the last poetry book that I got this month is The Rose That Grew from Concrete by Tupac, and I've read this before, like many years ago, and I just never owned my own copy because I read my mom's copy. And yeah, it's one of my favorite poetry books, so I thought that it was really cool that we got it traded in, and I picked it up. Next, I have one that I've already read, and it was my first read of 2018, and that is The Grown Up by Gillian Flynn. This is my first Gillian Flynn that I've ever read, and it was weird, but I really liked it, and yeah, it was a lot different than I thought it would be, and I picked it up because it was really short, and I wanted to fit a quick read sometime, you know, so I picked that one up. Next here I have a section of Stephen King books because we've been getting a lot of those traded in lately, so I just kind of went a little crazy with picking up a bunch of them. This first one here is The Long Walk, and this is one of the ones that he published under the Richard Bachman pen name. This one is one of the first like original dystopian novels, and it's about how every year this town takes all of the teenage boys that they have there, and they make them do this thing called the Long Walk, and it's where they all just do this one immense like walk through like whatever, and the last one's standing because they start like killing off ones that want to stop or can't keep going, and the last one standing is kind of the winner. It kind of sounds like Hunger Games, but it was written like a long time ago. And so yeah, I have this one. Then the next one here is pretty huge, but I've been hearing a lot of people talk about it lately, so I decided that I wanted to pick one up. And that is The Stand. This is the uncut edition, because there's one that's like, I think 100 or 200 pages less, that people have been picking up because it's a little bit shorter. I don't really know what this one's about, but it's, I think, one of his fantasy ones, so I now have that one in my collection. And then, I have here The Gunslinger, which is the first book in the Dark Tower series. And I wanted to pick this one up because I needed it in my collection in general, but also I really liked this cover, so when we got it in and it was like $3, I was like, yep, and I picked that one up. And then the last one that I have here is Gwendy's Button Box, and it's a novella that he released, I think, this past year with Richard Shizmar, and this one I think is about a little girl who this man hands her a random button box and says she needs to protect it. That's about all I know about this one. And since it's really short, I think it's like under 200 pages, I don't really need to know a whole lot more than that. Then this next one is actually the last book that I bought in 2017, and I was so excited to find it in my store. It is Lord of Shadows by Cassandra Clare. I have been wanting this since it got released, even though I still haven't read Lady Midnight yet. But we got it in for like $4, and I only had to pay $3. I was freaking out. I thought that it was misplaced because lots of new books usually end up getting mistakenly put with the used books, but no. And it is still one of the first printing ones because it has the dust jacket that has all the new runes on it. And I died. I needed this. And yeah, that's about it for that one. Then since before I started like binge buying Star Wars books, there was one that I had on my wish list that I still hadn't gotten yet, and that is Before the Awakening by Greg Rucka. I have, I think, a different book, like an adult thriller novel by him, and he writes lots of comics. So I've heard a lot about him, and I've been wanting to get some more content by him, and this one follows Finn, Rey, and Poe, and it goes through each of their perspectives, and it's broken up into 3 parts, I think, and it's following what each of them was doing in their lives before the events of The Force Awakens. And I always wanted to pick this one up, so when we got it traded in, I was like, yes, and I picked it up. This next one, I've been hearing lots of polarizing things about it. I think a lot of people aren't that into it, and then the few people who did like it loved it, and that is There's Someone Inside Your House by Stephanie Perkins. I might save this for around Halloween time in this coming year, but this is Stephanie Perkins' first thriller novel, and yeah, I think that people just didn't like that it felt like a contemporary, but with murders in it, and I think that that sounds like fun, and that sounds different and interesting and like her. So I'm excited to pick this one up, and the cover is really pretty. This next one, I heard talked about a lot on the channels where people talk more about adult, like, literary fiction rather than YA books, and this is called The Book of Unknown Americans by Christina Henriquez, and this was, like, in our clearance section, so it was, like, $2, and this is about a young Latin American girl named Alma falling in love, and that's about all I know about it. And yeah, I loved the cover, and I felt like I needed this one, and I plan on reading it sometime soon this year. This next one is kind of like that poetry book that I showed earlier, in which my sister was getting rid of books, and I picked this one up. I actually bought this one for her a while ago, and I was like, if you ever decide you don't want it, then I want it, and it's Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. It's like a practically new copy, but I think I had picked it up used originally, and everyone's been talking about the movie since the trailer came out and stuff like that, and so I'm probably going to pick it up before I go see that, if I end up doing that. I only got about like 6 books left or so. This next one I picked up from Goodwill for $1, I believe, and this is A Dog's Purpose by W. Bruce Cameron. I've been wanting this book for a long time. I was actually planning on picking up the movie cover when I eventually did, because I just liked the dog that they had on there better than this one. But I do like that it's practically brand new, and for that, I would be willing to spend $1 on it rather than more just for the cover. And yeah. Then I have this one, which I was really excited to find at my store. This is The Heart Goes Last by Margaret Atwood, and after I read The Handmaid's Tale, this one was always one that I was interested in picking up next, and definitely going to read it this year. This is about a married couple who kind of have this arrangement with, like, the government, where they can live in this really fancy, expensive house and have this lavish life if, like, I think, like, 6 months out of the year, they live in a state prison. and it sounds weird, but interesting. So this was, out of the rest of her books, the one that I was most excited to pick up. But whenever I found it anywhere, even used, it was usually like over $10. So I was really excited to find this for pretty cheap. Then I have this one, which is John Winchester's Journal by Alex Irvine. This is my first supernatural book. I had one a while ago, but then I ended up giving it to a friend because I read it and I wasn't crazy about it. But this one has been on my wish list probably longer than almost any book. And yeah, this is, if you watch Supernatural, just like John's journal. It has like a handwritten font going throughout most of it, and it has like pictures and illustrations. And yes, so I was really excited to find that one. Then here I have another Hamilton book, because I'm really trying to start building the collection, and this is The Hamilton Affair by Elizabeth Cobbs, and this focuses obviously more on the storyline where he has the affair, and kind of, I think it goes more into detail about the woman's perspective. And yes, I'm really excited for it. And that's about it for that one. And at Goodwill, I also picked up for $1 The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. I have my own copy of this and read it like long time ago, but that's like a really small, like beat up red copy, and it's like an awkward mass market size, and I just wanted a bigger, nicer one. My favorite one is the one that's just like a close-up of the leather jacket, but this one is still nice. I still liked it better than the one I had. It has like deckled edges. And yeah, so now I finally can get rid of the older one that I have, and I have that one. The next one here I got from Dollar Tree, and I think this is the only one I got from Dollar Tree this month. And this is called The Great Night by Chris Adrian, and this is an adult, I think, magical realism book, and it's a retelling of A Midsummer Night Dream, which is one of my favorite Shakespeare books. So yeah, it sounds really weird, and it takes place in New York in Central Park, and I started reading it, and it sounds really different, which like A Midsummer Night Dream is like really like weird and out there, so I think that this is going to be one that does it justice. Okay, and down to the last two books, I have here Grey by E.L. James, one of the few people in the world who is not ashamed to admit that I really like the 50 Shades of Grey trilogy, and so now she's doing these where she's releasing one that is kind of a companion or a reflection of each of the books in the trilogy, but they are told from Christian's point of view. And lots of people don't like when authors do that. I've seen that a lot, like Another Day, which is in Rhiannon's point of view, as like a side book from the Everyday series or stuff like that. But it's like, I figured if you liked a book enough to want to reread it, this is kind of like rereading it, but also getting like bonus new content and looking at the story through new eyes. So I've been wanting it, and now I have it. And this last one here is If I Was Your Girl by Meredith Russo. I've heard a lot of people talking about this. I know that it is a YA contemporary with a female trans main character. It is written by a trans woman, and the cover model is also a trans woman. So people said that the representation that was done in this was great. And I was thinking about picking up Almost Perfect to kind of read more YA books with trans characters in them, but I saw some Own Voices reviews that were very negative and stuff, and I figured that this one would be a more well-received one to try to pick up. And that's about it for all the books that I got this month. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and please subscribe if you would like to see more of my face and my books. Bye!